Imagine this. There is overwhelming evidence that dwarfs once lived on Earth in ancient times. Mummies have even been discovered that belong to them, along with entire villages where they once thrived. But we're not talking about the dwarves you might imagine in fairy tales or people with dwarfism. We're talking about beings only 50 to 60 centimeters tall, with strange and unusual features. So what happened to these mysterious creatures? Why did they suddenly disappear? Or more importantly, could they still be alive today, hiding in secret places on Earth? The beginning, ancient legends. The story starts with an ancient legend told by different civilizations. These legends speak of a race of small humans with unique characteristics, tiny in size, fierce in nature, cunning, and even dangerous. Despite their size, they were never described as weak. In fact, most of these stories came as warnings urging humans to be very cautious of the dwarfs. For example, Scandinavian mythology describes them as tiny, hairy creatures with long arms and masculine features. Their appearance was rugged and their character deceitful. They were masters of crafts, like blacksmithing and carpentry, among the finest artisans in the world. According to these legends, they lived underground, far from human reach. Meanwhile, in Algeria, similar legend speaks of the sarls, small creatures with long arms that touch the ground, coarse, stiff hair, glowing red eyes at night, and shabby, torn clothing. It was said they once lived alongside humans, but as dogs and weapons spread, many of them were killed. Fearing for their survival, they abandoned human settlements and retreated into the mountains. Indonesia too holds the same story. On the island of Sumatra, people spoke of the Mante tribe. Again, the same features: very short in stature, long-armed, aggressive, and violent. They lived together in isolation, away from human civilization. For centuries, they were believed to have vanished until one shocking day. A video spread across social media. The video showed a group of bikers riding deep in the forest. Suddenly, a tiny man appeared, holding a spear, dressed in primitive clothes, and ready to attack. But what shocked the bikers most was his size. He wasn't a person with dwarfism, but an extremely small humanoid. As they tried to follow him, he quickly disappeared into the tall grass, vanishing without a trace. This video reignited the belief that the Mante tribe never truly vanished. They had simply been hiding for centuries. Discoveries in Iran, the villages of the dwarfs, but perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from Iran. In the southern region, near the Lut Desert, close to the Afghan border, explorers stumbled upon something extraordinary. An entire village of tiny houses, around 200 homes in total. These houses were shockingly small. The tallest was only 130 to 140 centimeters high, and many were as low as 120 centimeters. Some were barely 70 centimeters in height. To enter such a house, a normal-sized person would have to crawl. Scientists dated the site to about 1,500 years ago. Even more astonishingly, in 2005, researchers discovered a mummified body in the area. It was only 25 centimeters long, about the size of a school ruler. The mummy belonged to a child, but not a normal child. It was far too small, and yet its features were perfectly formed. Scientists estimated it was between 400 and 500 years old. This discovery suggested that the inhabitants of these villages were not simply short humans suffering from malnutrition or disease. They might have been a separate race altogether. Even stranger, researchers later found 13 more dwarf villages, nearby, some with houses no taller than 60 to 70 centimeters. Scientific explanations versus mystery. Some scientists tried to explain this by claiming that these were normal humans who had stunted growth due to poor nutrition, harsh living conditions, and polluted water. They argued that diseases or genetic problems may have caused an entire community of short-statured people. But this explanation fails to account for the tools and artifacts found in these villages, all of which were made to fit tiny hands and small bodies. If they were normal humans, why would they build tools so small? Archaeologists even began calling the region the land of the dwarfs. Other evidence around the world. Iran is not the only place where such evidence exists. In 2003, scientists discovered Homo floresiensis in Indonesia, nicknamed the hobbits. They stood just 1 meter tall and lived as recently as 50,000 years ago. Genetic research shows they were a unique species of human, not a result of disease. In the Philippines and Asia, tribes such as the Negritos exist today. naturally short and height proof that human diversity can be far greater than we think. In 1932 in Wyoming, USA, explorers discovered the Pedro Mountain Mummy. Only 40 centimeters tall, the figure looked fully human. To this day, experts debate whether it was a malformed fetus or an adult dwarf being. The great mystery. Where did they go? Here's the strangest part. In all the dwarf villages discovered, there is almost no trace of skeletons or remains except for the rare mummies. The houses are abandoned, the tools left behind, but no evidence of mass death. So, did they all die out? Or did they leave migrating to other lands? And if they left, why did they abandon their homes and belongings? Some believe they still exist today, hiding in mountains, forests, or even Antarctica, where humans cannot easily reach. Conclusion from ancient myths in Scandinavia and Algeria, to shocking videos in Sumatra, to mummified bodies in Iran and America, the evidence suggests that these tiny beings were not just products of imagination. Whether they are extinct, hiding, or simply misunderstood, one thing is clear. The story of the dwarfs remains one of the most fascinating mysteries in human history. So now I ask you, do you believe these dwarfs truly lived among us? Or are we only chasing legends?